Pakyuke kodan dagi lo, pakyuke sundan dagi nga, pakyuke tudan dagi ten yerme chikto jingi lo, makyuke kodan dagi lo, makyuke sundan dagi nga, makyuke tudan dagi ten yerme chikto jingi lo. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola pinchire sangye drupare sho. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola pinchira sangye drupare sho. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola pinchira sangye drupare sho. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I would like to start these days of teachings with the words directly of Lama Tsongkhapa. So, Namo Guru Manju Shriye. Gejur gine tiwa nyingkur lasam rapkar shejawas. Lite charki babar gyurwes serki sazingi. Semo yendranili chuzin tukpu tribatar. Marse kula rape surbu ngade rabzepe. Jamyan lama te taktu kyunshi gele pelwarzu. Gyalwe sumbe damga duzichu. Ningpo la rangi tsechiktu ne shin shen la te la go depe gomchen nam la triwa dibulgi. Gyawe chinye sungdang tumbele teba nam la kechi chalmetu gosum gube gone chagi pe salwa nyurtu dala tsedu solos. Mite panam dala chato dans dansem mitsan semla chekyu koms Tadun chulme lekpar matsalnas, ranshen tamche lune tungnian tao. Kangi triwa shuwa dinamni, rang kedo dan shen ma abdo dan, nyenkur dan chakdo ki kuyne lawa maingis, chitena jamyangi triba sabengi, rikter tu sumbas, taktu tsumbe tinzin drupkyans, Sangye gebe lamle gol, nikto kewo chokshe chenam, lekpar sola keba ten. Donsum rabye soyang, soyang, manda tu sumbo duken, shenya gyabo ni jar tu tagom chusum, norwa ta yeba shik. Dukchins, Tei Nangne Kyang, Tongni gi Tagum Norwa, Pung Drower, Ludrub gi Suntes, Umatsawars, Tongba Nila, Ta Nienas, Sherab Chungna Pungwar Gyurs, Perna Drula Sunyentas, Ringa Lopar Druba Shins, Shedans, Shenya Gyabu ge Keba Tumasumba Tambor Gomgyo Rama Norwar, Nyeba Shintu Kaas, She Soba Tayeba Shik Tongshins, Tetana se tongse la drowe gomla raya ningruke shenyang goba namla kowe tsewes kune lantes nyen kuntu shuwe tiwa di daro. Okay. So, I'm very happy that today we start once again, and Rinpoche especially asked to send his blessings, that today we start with the teachings, and we have quite many days together. And for me it's a beautiful opportunity, the fact that we can actually sit together and go through this text, which was written by Lama Tsongkhapa, quite more than 6 centuries ago. And Lama Tsongkhapa, as he just said in the beginning of the text, which the text itself is called the very wholesome questions expressed with an extraordinary attitude, which basically what Lama Tsongkhapa did was at some point in his life, by the end of his life, he said, okay, it doesn't matter what's the name of the tradition that you are part of. It doesn't matter if you call yourself Buddhist or not Buddhist. In this context, he was talking inside Buddhism, but I say it goes beyond Buddhism. It doesn't matter if you call yourself Geluk or Kargyo or Nyingma or Sakya, if you call the whatever beautiful name you give to your practice. If you know how to answer these questions correctly, then you are following the path correctly. If you don't know how to answer these questions, then sorry, you need to study more. This is basically what Lama Tsongkhapa brought. So it's not a matter of being part of a group or being part of a tradition, you know. That's so important for us to understand. It's not like, oh, I am Gelupa, so everything is fine with me because I am on the right path. The path is not being part of a group. The path is following within ourselves a path of developing our qualities and eliminating our defilements. That's the true path. No? So, I would like just to start reading this first part of the text. Then we will go to the point where we stopped last time. But it is actually extremely important, this, because why are we here? Not because maybe for someone, but actually the true reason is that we should not be here just because we like being part of, okay, it's fancy to be Buddhist. Or it's nice, okay, I am Buddhist, so I have something meaningful in my life at least, conceptually at least. We are here because by receiving the teachings, by doing the practice, we can shape our mind positively. That's the reason. And this process of shaping our mind, this process of developing our qualities and so on, is divided on our path to enlightenment into 3 parts, which is called, there are different ways of dividing it. One of the ways of dividing is we call Ta Gom Chösum, which is, we say Ta Gom Chösum, but we practice Chö Gom Ta. Okay, it's in the other way, because Tawa means view, Gom means meditation, Chöpa means behavior, conduct. So basically, our path is divided into 3 parts. They all go together, but 3 points that we need to develop, which is our behavior or conduct, which is the way we speak, the way we think, the way we act, the choices we make. All of this is part of behavior. Then there is the part of meditation, which is developing a state of single-pointed concentration, of profound view, shamatha, vipassana. There's the whole part of meditation, which is being able to direct our mind positively. And then there is the other point, which is very important, which is the view. What is our own view on reality? Which goes together, which is very important. So, the question that Lama Tsongkhapa put on this text, he divided into these 3 parts. Conduct, meditation, and the view. Okay? So we have actually already seen the part of conduct and we have already seen the part of meditation. So at this time today, we will start the part of the view. Okay? But they're all very important. So we'll just go very quickly through it in like in a more general way, and then after we'll continue from where we stopped. But I just wanted to start by reading the first part of the text. Okay? So, the text, it has these 3 aspects, which is conduct, meditation, and the view. which are three very important parts of our path. And last summer we saw the part which regarded the conduct. Last winter we saw the part that regarded the meditation. And today we're starting the part that regards the view. It's the most difficult. Conduct is a bit more easy. Meditation is more difficult. The view is even more difficult. But it's not because something is difficult that we cannot go through it. We'll go slowly, no hurry. And I'm quite sure we can understand it and we can make it useful for even for our normal daily life. We can gain a lot in order to apply. Okay? But I just wanted to start with the first part of the text. Then we will jump to the part to the question that we have arrived. And another thing important also is that we are very, very fortunate because not only here we have the text of the questions, and this is very important because very often I believe that it's much more important the question than the actual answer. No? Very often we don't have questions, so because of that we never get an answer. And it's very important for us to have the questions, so to open our mind. And at the same time, we have to go the answers, because if we only had the text of the questions of Lama Tsongkhapa, then I would not know how much I can trust myself with my little knowledge in order to explain and try to answer these questions. But we are very lucky that Panchen Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen, the great, great master that wrote the Guru Puja, just to have a reference, and that came a few centuries later, he wrote one text which we called here the melody of a noble mind proposal. So in which he gives the answers to these questions. And he was the first one that had the courage to write an official text of answer to the questions of Lama Tsongkhapa. And so we have his answers also. So we have a guideline for the answers. And this can assure us much better than we can go on the right direction. Okay? So I would like just to start with the first part of the text, which is the praise and the intention. And then after we go to the question number 40, which is the question that regards the view directly. Okay? Because if we start going through the whole questions again, then we never end. We will go back again to the whole part of conduct. So let's go from the beginning, as it says. Namu Guru Manju Goshaya. I prostrate to Guru Manjushri. The topic here is called an exhortation to hear very wholesome questions regarding certain points of virtuous practice. Just as the peak of the golden mountain saturated by the rain of vermilion, where a dense cloud of sapphire billows, your orange holy body with the 5 knots of hair is most beautiful. You, Guru Manjushri, please always guard me and increase virtues and goodness. So this is where Lama Tsongkhapa starts by praising Guru Buddha Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. To the great meditators who abide single-pointedly on the pitch of the essential taste of the nectar-like instructions given by the victors, and who want also to place others there, I present the following questions. So to whom am I presenting these questions? I present these questions to those meditators, to those that want to follow the teachings of Buddha, of the victorious, for the benefit of all sentient beings. In other words, I present this question to those that want to reach enlightenment for the benefit of others. These are those to whom I present these questions. To those whose answers are correct, according to exactly what the victor said, I venerate them with all my 3 doors, without separating myself from them even for an instant. Therefore, please answer me clearly and quickly. So for those that will give me the correct answer, I pay my deepest respect. I prostrate with body, speech, and mind, and may I always be inseparable from them, those that give the correct answer. So please answer me quickly and in a clear way. Instead, to those whose answers will not be correct, I will not have any envy or a hateful mind. Rather, it will be an analytical meditation for my mind. Which means let me just check the Tibetan of this part, sorry, because Mite pana dala trato dan dan sem mitsa sem la tsök yu goms. Tadun chulme lekpal matsal na ranshen tamche lune tunyen dao dan sem mitsa sem la tsök yu goms. Okay. Well, it says it will be an analytical way for myself by making the questions. But also the meaning here is actually, it's a way for you to reflect. Even though you are not answering correctly, it's a way for me to train my mind by looking at your answers. And also, it's a way for you to train your mind. But I have no any bad feelings to anyone that have giving and that may give any bad and any wrong answers. So don't worry by giving your own answers. Because I think it's very good for me to listen to your answers. It's very good for you to give your answers. Don't need to worry about giving the wrong answer. If we do not still seek for a non-mistaken answer, we will all be cheating ourselves and we will risk failing into a lower realm. Which means, but if we give wrong answers, but we don't seek for the correct answers, we will end up maybe dedicating one whole life in meditation, but meditating in the wrong way. We may think we are on the path to enlightenment, but we are not on the path to enlightenment. So we are cheating ourselves, and if we guide others on the wrong path, we are cheating others. And this is creating a negative cause for ourselves also. So it's very important to have the sincerity in our path, but at the same time, we need to be sure that we are on the correct path. These questions that I'm going to present here are not asked with the motivation of pretending to be knowledgeable, wanting to degrade other people, or wanting material gain, respect, or fame. So why? It is just simply because of the following points. So why do I make these questions? And then here he makes some citations, which is from a pandit, from the Sakya Pandita of the Sakya tradition, who is an emanation of Manjushri. In his text called The Treasury of Knowledge, he says, although you are achieving concentrations with constant effort, if you are deviated from the path which pleases the victors, you, the beings of the Kali Yuga, with the knowledge of satisfaction, think well and follow a learned one. Which means, even though you may develop perfect concentration, if you are not concentrating on the right thing, you are not on the right path. So you must have the correct knowledge, you must have the right understanding, you must be on the correct path. To follow very strongly a path is not enough if we are not on the correct path. And another passage from the same source says, it is greatly emphasized in many texts, such as the 12th classification of the three vows. Furthermore, there is simply a limitless number of people, both in India and Tibet, who are mistaken with regard to the view, meditation, and conduct. So here refers texts which were written a long time ago, and they were saying there are many, many people practicing the Dharma in Tibet and in India that actually have a mistaken understanding, have a wrong understanding about the path. So specifically among them, it is if the view and the meditation regarding emptiness are mistaken, one will be ruined, because Nagarjuna in his fundamental wisdom says, if the view of emptiness is failed, those with small wisdom will be ruined. For instance, it's like failing in catching a snake and the perverse achievement of knowledge and so forth. Which basically means, of all the part of the conduct, if you follow the part of the conduct and you are not doing it really correctly, it's not that bad. But if you want to meditate on the correct view of reality, and you do not meditate correctly, you have a wrong view of reality, and you meditate on that, you are just going to make your own wrong view to become more and more strong and deep within yourself. So this is danger, because it's like if you want to catch a snake, and then because you go to catch the snake, but then you are not skillful enough, and then what happened? The snake bites you. So then it's worth catching the snake because you get harmed. Or the other part here is like you go to do some sort of magic, But then what happens is that you don't know how to make the spells and how to use this substance correctly. You don't know how to do the magic correctly. And then the magic turns back into you. These are the two examples that are given here. So the point is that we must really know how to meditate correctly on the correct view of reality. Otherwise, we can end up with a view of nihilism or eternalism. We can end up with a wrong view. And then it's even worse. It's worse to meditate in something wrong than not meditating. It's better not to meditate than to meditate in something the wrong way. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa said, that's why I'm putting these questions, because it's so important to have a correct view. It's fundamental. And he continues saying, and in the discourses of many Indian and Tibetan scholars, an infinite number of passages such as, it is very difficult to find something that is not mistaken to meditate on from the beginning, which means it's not easy to find a correct path. It's not obvious to have someone guiding us correctly, to have the right understanding on the path to enlightenment, which regards specifically regarding the correct view of reality. It's not obvious at all. So we must really be careful on that. Therefore, for those who have the courage in meditation, which leads their own life to an empty end, and who want to lead others to such destiny, I, with the motivation of mercy, of compassion, write the following questions as a request. The word here, which regards courage, is like on the sense like you need really to have a lot of courage to dedicate your life in a wrong way and to guide others on a wrong path, because the result is not going to be good. So, for those that are following a wrong view of reality and guiding others on a wrong way and so on, I make this question. So please, out of compassion, I'm making this question. So please listen carefully. If you're able to answer these questions correctly, wonderful, I prostrate to you. If you're not able to answer these questions correctly, then this means you need to study more. This means you need to have a better and more correct view. Okay? And this is also because at the time of Lama Tsongkhapa, there were, even nowadays, many different points of view regarding the correct view of reality. And the point of Lama Tsongkhapa was not that everybody needs to be Gelupa. This is not the point. It's not that everybody needs to follow the same tradition. But we need to have a correct view, independently of the name, how you call it. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa discussed about it in a very clear way and bring the questions about that. Okay? Because the part of conduct regards taking refuge, understanding what is suffering, understanding what are the causes of suffering, generating qualities such as generosity, morality, patience, effort. Then there is the part of understanding samsara, the law of karma. All of this regards the part of conduct. Then there is a part of concentration, which is specifically meditation, which is how to meditate, what is meditation, how to meditate, how to eliminate the interferences of meditation. We understand Lama Tsongkhapa explains beautifully in this text that meditation goes beyond mindfulness. Mindfulness is just one aspect of meditation. And all of this is explained in a beautiful way through the text, okay? Luckily, we have all the recordings of all the times where I gave this commentary. So those that are interested can go back and listen to it again, so we don't need to go through it once again to the whole text, okay? There are different levels of approach that we can have towards Buddha's teachings. One level of approach is that we come here and we simply we are curious, we want to know something about Buddha, and maybe we want to have something spiritual in our life. It's nice, it's fine, but it's not that deep. And actually most of the people that initially come with this intention. Most of us in the beginning, we just come like, oh yes, I like to do something a little bit, feel my life more meaningful. I want to do something that I feel more pleasurable, that makes more sense to me. And then we just stay in this process of being in contact with something more meaningful and trying to do something that we feel better. That's wonderful, but it's just one step. There is much more to go. And most of the time, what we have is this, So, if we really want to go deeper, it's not enough just to recite some mantras and to study a little bit of one or another concept that helps us. Yes, this is all wonderful and it's very beneficial, but there are other levels that we can go. So the next step is to have the inner attitude which says, I don't want anymore to suffer completely. So I recognize what is suffering. I recognize what are the causes of suffering. What are the causes? Why I recognize what is happiness. What are the causes of happiness? And I have a strong commitment that the priority in my life is to eliminate the causes of suffering and to develop the causes of happiness. This is my main priority. I am tired of acting with jealousy and envy. It's quite tiring, actually. And then today I'm jealous, then tomorrow I am envy, then the day after tomorrow I am jealous and envy. And then there is the other moment when I have this fear, and then there is pride, and then there is miserliness, and then there is anger, and then and then there is a day that we put all together, and then, it's constantly going up and down, and it's like living our life as if we were in a roller coaster, emotionally speaking, and then never being able just to be balanced and peaceful and satisfied. So I'm tired of this. I don't want anymore to be in this constant emotional roller coaster of going up and down and anger and jealousy and envy and having all these negative emotions and acting out of them. And then after, when this negative emotion is gone, I still need to pay the price for it because I spoke out of that and I did things which were not good. That's too tiring. I want to be happy. I want to live in a state of peace, of joy, of satisfaction, of harmony with myself and others. So, my main priority is what? Eliminate the causes of suffering, such as anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, selfishness, and ultimately ignorance. That's my main priority. And together with that, the main priority is to develop my qualities, such as love and compassion and wisdom and generosity, and the most of all, to develop wisdom, the correct view of reality. So this is the second level of motivation, which is already more deep. And there is one point. When we enter the second level of motivation, you need to remember, it is a full-time job. It's not like, okay, sometimes I listen to some teachings which I feel comfortable and nice, and then I do some mantras when I feel like doing them, and then I go to cry to the guru when I feel sad or whatever. Okay. But the point of the second level is that this life is just a mean. It's not a final goal. And it's a constant effort to eliminate our defilements, to develop our qualities. That's the main priority. All the rest is just a detail. Okay? I have my boyfriend, my girlfriend, I am married, I am separating myself, I am making this job, I have a job, I don't have a job. How is my body? I'm healthy, I'm not healthy, I am rich, I am poor. All of this is just the details. It's not the core. It's just the surface. The essence is develop my qualities, abandon my defilements. That's my core. It's the second level of motivation that we are talking here today. The third level of motivation is much higher and much better, which is, I want to help others. Looking at the suffering of others, I say, I must truly do something to help others. And as we analyze and we observe it, we will see that the only thing that we can truly do to help others actually is to develop ourselves and to interact with others positively, so we can try to help them. is to be a positive interdependence in the life of others. No one of us is able to enter into others' life and change their mind. So in order for me to help others, I must develop my own wisdom and love and compassion. So may I reach enlightenment. May I be free from suffering, and may I develop my qualities to their maximum potential so that I may help others to do the same. This is the highest motivation called bodhicitta. So the priority in my life is I must develop my qualities fully. I must eliminate my defilements completely. And this is the priority. All the rest is just a simple detail. And why I want to do that? Because I must help others. So, in order to do that, one of the most important aspects is that there is a process. There is a path to follow. And luckily, since Buddha explained it very clearly for us, and many masters after him have taught us it also, and bring it, so we have it alive here together with us today. It's something that has been transmitted to us from master to disciple, from father to son, and mother to son and daughter, up to now. So, the important thing to understand here is that the conduct, which is developing the part of love and compassion, there is renunciation, bodhicitta, karma, taking refuge, and the first 4 perfections, and all of this, it is very important, but it becomes just a basis for the main part, which is wisdom. Because even if we look from the point of view of our suffering, just making few examples, how ignorance is generating our suffering. We suffer more for how things are, or we suffer more for what we think things should be and are not. We suffer more because the way how the other person is, or we suffer because the person is not what we think the person should be. If we really analyze, we almost never suffer much in the present moment. We're always suffering, not always, but most of the time suffering for something that have happened or something that may happen in the future, and we suffer because the present is not what we think it should be. Reality is not what I think it should be. It's like if I have written my own script for the movie, and then the actors are not doing their job correctly. Reality is not what it was supposed to be. This is not how things should be, and then we suffer. This is just few signs of ignorance. For example, can it happen that we suffer because things change? This is a simple sign of our ignorance of not understanding impermanence. So basically, the key to eliminate our suffering and to help others is to realize the correct view of reality, which in other words means to relate to reality in a coherent way for what reality actually is. It is impermanent, I relate to it as being impermanent, and so on. So it's as simple as that, actually. So this becomes the key of our own path. To understand the correct view of reality is the most important part. So that's where also Lama Tsongkhapa always put a lot of emphasis. And that's the part which we will start reading now. Okay? So we will just read the answer, or the first part of the answer of Panchen Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen. And then we will go through the question number 40. Namu Guru Manju Gokaya. Sangye Kungi Yesheni Ngurmi Karge Röbala Losang Rige Kyabdache Nyampar Takpe Palter Du. Goente Tsewe Samune Tiwe Sölgi Dompe Dom Jitar Söbe Neljur Ki Kube Talmur Jarte Söl. So Lama Tsongkhapa, Panchen Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen starts the answer by saying, Namu Guru Manju Gokaya, I prostrate to Guru Manjushri. You who displayed exalted wisdom of all the Buddhas, by way of saffron color and dance, are pleasantly known as the pervasive Lord of the 100 lineages of the noble mind. to you, the glorious one, I bow down, which is to Lama Tsongkhapa. You, Lord, with mercy, exhorted us to answer your indirect questions regarding profound points. And I answer whatever my intelligence can bear, with my two palms jointed respectfully at my heart. So Panchen, Losang, Gyaltsen say, I will answer according to my own abilities. I don't know if the answers are all correct or not, but I will answer in the best of my abilities. And I like just to put myself saying, I will try to explain the questions and the answer in the best of my abilities, which doesn't mean necessarily that all is correct. It's just the fact that we are here together sharing the Dharma. And this for me is something very beautiful and very special. And I put myself in the service of all, trying to do it in the best way as I can. Okay. Page 50, question number 40. Sorry, question number 41. We are. Page 52. What is the mode of viewing which is free from those four alternatives? Okay. Just to get the Tibetan also again. Te shidan trawe taluk te chitra shigins. Te tawa yin she me kyang kang la yang ma tebar song dukpa te magonsams. Ngar me simbe Hashangi choksu lembe hedewa kanya yelami cheba ter tadoma sonwa dukams. Although you say, so what is the mode of viewing which is free from these four alternatives? The four alternatives were in the part of the last question, which are actually talking about four wrong ways of meditating. Okay. Although you say that it is viewing, you don't realize that you are in a position where phenomena do not rely upon anything. Aren't you still on the side of the previously mentioned view of Hashan, where one keeps oneself in a blank state of mind, not thinking of anything? And then the answer is like hypothetical answer is given, which says, then, not thinking of anything and not meditating is the best meditation. Not viewing anything is the best view. And not practicing anything is the best practice. What is the point here? Is that since the time of Lama Tsongkhapa and much before that and up to now, there are many people that have the view that to meditate is simply to empty the mind. And the true view is that of having no any thought, that nothing exists. It's like going into a very nihilistic view, actually, and entering into this idea that nothing exists. That to meditate, we need to simply, completely empty our mind of anything. Okay? And this is actually a view that is very well known. It created a lot of debates in Tibet at the time. Like, it's not small things. It was very, very small, very strong. The so-called Hashan were those that had this view. And at the time in Tibet, we're talking about more than 1,000 years ago, there was a big dispute by him and Lobon Kamala Shila. They had a view in which one was saying, no, there is a path, there is conduct, there is meditation, there is an object of view. And the other one was saying, no, view is to have no view, meditators to have no meditation, and the conduct is not, the practice is not, it has to have no practice somehow. And this created a big debate, and finally the Hashan lost the debate and he was sent away from Tibet by the king, making a long story short. So, what happened is that this view remained in Tibet for a long time. The view that we need completely just to empty the mind of anything, just to keep it completely with no concept, with no perception, and so on. And this actually creates a lot of problems, because it's not the right way of meditating. We can stay a long time, because if we eliminate any other different conceptual thought, and we simply remain with our own self, with our own mind, okay? our mind is ignorant or is wise? Okay, the true nature of our mind is not that it is inherently ignorant. Okay. But right now, do I have ignorance? Yes. So if I just try to eliminate every different conceptual thought and just remain by myself with my mind, what am I going to familiarize myself with? With myself. So nothing really special about it, okay? So instead, it's like, imagine if I am just alone, I familiarize myself with myself. If I am with someone else, and this person is a wise, better person, I am influenced by that person. I familiarize myself with that person. Similar to that, when we meditate, we need to have an object of meditation. It's just not emptying the mind. So, for example, let's say I want to meditate on impermanence, which is one object of meditation. How do I do that? Making it very simple. I first need to understand why phenomena are impermanent. So I will make a whole analytical meditation on the fact that, let's say, observing the glass is impermanent because it depends on cause and conditions, it's constantly transforming, etc., etc. So I go to the conclusion the glass is impermanent. But then, in order when I meditate, I must apply the antidote, which is the wisdom that understands, that realizes the impermanence, on the wherever the poison is lying. It's like if I simply meditate and I simply reflect, okay, phenomena are impermanent, it's outside of me, it's disconnected from my own reality. So how do I need to do that? First, I need to access my own poison, my own defilement, my own shadow in order for me to apply light to it. It's like if we look in a pharmacy and we look at all the medicine that is in the pharmacy, as long as it is in the pharmacy, it is not medicine actually. It only becomes medicine, it only has the power of cure in the moment that it enters in contact with the sickness. Because that same substance, it can be for one person medicine and for another person poison. So what happens is that it only becomes medicine truly when it enters in contact with the right sickness. Otherwise, it's not medicine. Similar to that, the antidote only becomes antidote when it is in contact with the defilement. So the meditation on impermanence, when it's really an antidote, when it's in contact with our ignorance that grasps at permanence. Otherwise, it's just an intellectual game of understanding impermanence, beautiful, nice, but it's disconnected from ourselves. And our goal is not to understand impermanence, it's to eliminate our mind that grasps at phenomena as being permanent. That's the goal. So it's, for example, if I look at you and you look at me, and then we close our eyes, and then we think, okay, I will open my eye, who I will see? The same person as before, or someone slightly different? And we open our eyes and we see ourselves again, each other again. Who do we think to see? The same one as before. Why? Because we are not able to perceive the constant transformation that happens within everything around us. So, what we do to meditate, let's say I meditate on the impermanence of the glass, or the impermanence of my feelings, the impermanence of the self. It doesn't matter. We can do the impermanence of the person. We can do it in many different ways. Let's take the glass, more simple. I look at the glass, and first I do an analytical meditation through which I will go and analyze why is the glass impermanent. And I try to go through every detail. It came from causes and conditions. It is in interacting with the air, with the water, with the space. It is gradually changing in many, many little different forms. And then one day it will not exist anymore as a glass. And this process of decaying or of dying, it's coming gradual. It's not something that comes in an instant. So we start analyzing why is the glass impermanent. Then, once we have done such analysis, We stop analyzing for a moment, and then we simply look at the glass and we let the mind that grasps at the glass as being permanent to appear. We stop the conceptual process. We just let it naturally look at the glass, and we let the mind that grasps at it as being permanent to appear. Once that mind appears, then we need to bring back all the conclusion of our analysis and say, the glass is not permanent. The glass is impermanent because it's constantly interacting and transforming. And then we get to that conclusion and we remain in that state as long as we can in a single pointed state. This is meditating on impermanence. The conclusion is what? Impermanence. It is constantly transforming. So, the object through which we meditate on that is the impermanence of the glass. Because in order to meditate on impermanence, it must be the impermanence of something that is impermanent. So, by doing that, we are able to familiarize ourselves with impermanence, but applying that knowledge, that understanding, that experience on our own ignorance of grasping at permanence. Okay? So this is one example. So, similar to that, we have the meditation of emptiness. But the point of the text now here is just saying, look, just to empty your mind is not enough. You need to have an object of meditation. So it continues. And it says, you who make such a statement seem to have an advanced experiential realization. You say, oh, to meditate is to empty the mind and so on. Seems you have a very big realization. But in that case, if you would follow that, which means that emptying the mind is the correct path, not doing a virtuous practice is already a virtuous practice. If not practicing is practice, then you are always practicing. Because when you don't do something positive, you're also doing it. The very non-purification of obscuration is already a purification of obscuration. In that way, you do not have any valid support, whereby it would be better to spend your time by practicing whatever comes to your mind, without really the need of going into a cave or at a high altitude. Have we really reached the limit where such things is allowed? I hope not. Therefore, as we have not yet reached such a time, it is very important to be careful. So the same hypothetical disputant from before thinks. Then, why did Buddha say, whatever is not seen is the best seen, and whatever is not veiled is the best view? The intention of that statement of the victor is very profound. It is addressed to those whose mind abides up straight, not to the rough ones above. I want to bestow the very original oral instructions from the wise Guru Father, but it appears that it is not the moment for now. Therefore, ask these questions to others. Then question 42, it continues. What is the emptiness to meditate on when the text says, meditation on emptiness is pureless? And thinks, and hypothetical disputant thinks, it is that which is not established anywhere. Then again, a hypothetical indirect rebuttal from our own system says, if you think that, the result of meditating on that which is not established anywhere also cannot be other than that which does not exist anywhere. Therefore, that meditation is the highest one. And if someone still is thinking, or if not, the meaning of that emptiness is that which is unobservable anywhere. Then, what is the meaning of unobservable? Things. Hypothetical disputant thinks. It means not engaging anywhere in conception. And here we have the answer, which is like the essence of all of this, which says, however many phenomena there are, without exception, are free of inherent existence. That is the profound emptiness to meditate upon. So, let's try to give a short explanation on that. Okay? So, trying to make it simple, this point, now as we go from the answer, it says, however many phenomena there are, without exception, they are free of inherent existence. This is the profound emptiness to meditate upon. So first think, what it means for something to be empty. So for example, if I take this cup and I say, the cup is empty. First statement is that the cup exists. Why? Because if it didn't exist, it could not be empty. Okay? So whenever we say something is empty, the first statement that we are making is, it exists. Okay, that's very important. Because very often, when we talk about all phenomena are empty, oh, so nothing exists. No. It's the exactly opposite. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa in the three aspects of the path says, Shean nangwe yota selwadan, tompe meta selshin tompani. Tompe meta selshin tompani. With emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. Why? Because if it's empty, it exists. Otherwise, it could not be empty. So if I ask, is my cup empty? Or if I make the statement, my cup is empty, what does that mean? That my cup exists, and that's why it can be empty. Okay? This is something actually simple but very important, because very often when we talk about the idea of emptiness, people have their understanding, oh, it's because it's of the nature of emptiness, it doesn't exist. No, it does exist. That's why it can be empty. Second point. The cup is empty. If I make the simple statement in which I say the cup is empty, can you understand it fully or there is a part missing? Because the question is, it's empty of what? Is the cup empty of milk? Yes, I can see inside. If I say, is the cup empty of water? No, just drank the water that was inside. So what happened is that whenever we say that something is empty, it's very important to understand that it's empty of something. It cannot be simply empty. So it's very, very important to understand the object of negation. Whenever we make a negation, there is always the object of negation, and it's very, very important to understand that object of negation. It's like if I say, the room is empty. Then you ask, empty of what? Is this room empty of elephants? Yes, someone may say, oh, there is an elephant there. No, that's a representation of an elephant. We have few representations of elephants here, but there are no elephants. This is also an important point. When we talk about something, we must clarify what we are talking about, okay? So I'm talking about real elephant animals, this beautiful animal. So are there any elephants in here? No. So is the room empty of elephants? Yes. Can we understand the emptiness of elephants of the room? Yes. Why can we understand the emptiness of elephants of the room? Because we can imagine elephants in the room. And we can see that it's not here. Okay. So it's like there is one animal called drone in Tibetan. Is this room empty of drones? Boy, I don't know what a drone is, Maybe it's a little insect that is in the flower. Who knows? How can I know what is that? How can I tell you if the room is empty of a drone if I don't know what a drone is? Okay? Drone is a Tibetan wild yak. It's big, it's massive actually. It's like, they said that the drone is like, a big drone is like a small elephant. And like in each horn of a drone can be more than 20 liters of water can hold. And it's like, and the tongue of the drone is very rough, just similar to the tongue of a cat, but so rough that if it licks a person, it takes away the skin. So like the hunters of drone, they will always use 2 pieces of clothes, one black one and below a red one, so that when if the drone catches the person and he will lick the person, he takes out the first cloth and he sees the red one, so he thinks it's blood, so he stops at the person. So it's like, there is this massive animal. When Rinpoche went to see the Panchen Lama, someone had just brought as a present for the Panchen Lama one baby drone. And it was the size of a full developed yak. So it's a very, very strong animal. So, is this room empty of drones? Yes. Why is this room empty of drones? Because we can imagine what a drone is in here. So it's very important to understand, in order for us to understand a negation, we must imagine how it would be in an affirmation. The only reason I can understand that there are no yaks or drones or elephants or cows inside here is because I can imagine what would be if there was a cow in here, if there was a yak in here, if there was an elephant in here. I can only understand the negation because I can imagine the opposite affirmation. Okay, is this clear? So, when we talk about what is emptiness, that is something so important. It is like that. Let's say that we truly believe that there are elephants in the room. What is the statement that I need in order to eliminate the mind that believe on the existence of elephants in the room? I need to explain why. Look, there are no elephants. They would be quite big inside here, and so on and so on. We need to explain the whole reason why until we get the conclusion there are no elephants in the room. Okay. Then the mind that believes in the existence of elephants in the rooms, what happened? It fades away. Okay? Similar to that, we believe, we grasp strongly at an aspect of reality which does not exist. Everything that we see, everything that we touch, everything that we listen, it comes to us with an aspect that is actually not existing. But we must understand it in order to eliminate its perception. Okay? That's why when we say all phenomena are empty. Empty of what? Empty of this aspect that we believe exists but actually does not exist. It's like if we all believe there are elephants in the room, but actually they are not. So what do we need to understand? The emptiness of elephants in the room. Okay. Why do we need to develop the mind that realizes the emptiness of elephants in the room? Because we believe there are many. Okay? So, this is the metaphor. Okay? The meaning is we grasp at reality in a way that is incoherent with reality. So what do we need to do? We need to understand this incoherent aspect and understand that it is actually incoherent in order to change our own view. First intellectually, then we need to meditate on it in order to change it deeply within our mind. Okay, so just leave a little bit there. And then we go now to the Italian conclusion, then we do the English conclusion, 1 minute. Okay, so what is that we see in a way that is not? So, very briefly, what happens is that what are phenomena empty of? In other words, we made a metaphor of the room being empty of the elephants. What are the elephants? Okay, what is the actual elephant? Basically, let's try to put it in this way. Let's look at this object. What is this object? It's a bell, right? I think we all agree. This is a bell. Well, and this object, it's a book, right? Okay. If we ask, why is this a bell and why is that a book? Most people will answer me, why to make this a stupid question? A bell is a bell, a book is a book. But the point is that if I take the bell now and I start saying, this is not a bell anymore. From now on, this is a glass to drink water. Can it work as a glass? Perfectly. No? Why not? But let's say I start using this object as a glass. And I say, from now on, this is a glass. No one else should call it a bell. And you will come to the Gompa and you see here the Lama drinking from his new glass. What would you say most probably? The Lama's gone crazy. Someone out of respect may say, oh no, he's drinking the nectar of wisdom because the bell represents the wisdom and blah, 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 blah. But the fact is that for me it's just a glass. But when we look at this, how does it appear to us? As a glass or as a bell that is being used as a glass? The bell that is being used as a glass. If I take the book, a holy book for me, and I say, from now on, this is not a book anymore. We will use it as a coaster for pens, like to hold hot pots on the table. Okay, we say, yes, okay, Lama is saying, okay. But then, how would it look for us? As, how do you call that in English? A coaster, like a stand for a hot pot? Pot stand? Okay. How does it look to us? As a pot stand? Or does it look to us as a book that is being used as a pot stand? A book that is being used as a pot stand, right? So what happens is the following. For us, the bell exists as a bell. Why? Because it is a bell. The book exists as a book because it is a book. But if we start analyzing it, why is this a book? Because we name it as so. Because where is the book? If we really analyze it, the book is simply the name which is the functions and characteristics that we attribute to a unity of parts. Which are the parts? Cover, pages, ink, letters, and so on. But if I go to look, the book doesn't exist by itself independently of the name book and independently of its parts. Okay? But what happened is that in the moment that I look at it, it appears to me as being a book by its own characteristics. Okay? Make another example. I take this object, a Tibetan singing bowl. Okay? Let's say I go there, I buy my Tibetan singing bowl. They're quite expensive actually. And then I go there, I get my beautiful Tibetan singing bowl because I want to meditate at home. And then I go there and I sit and I meditate with it. I'm so happy. Then one day I come back from work and then where is my singing bowl? I cannot find it anymore. And then I go for lunch and my wife have taken it and to put salad inside. Okay? Can I become upset? Saying, what are you doing? This is a sacred object to meditate. That's my singing bowl. This is not for a salad. And okay, some little hustle I put back in my temple, my meditation place. Then the next day I come back, I don't see my singing bowl anymore. Where is it? I go, my son or daughter took it to give water for the dog. I say, oh, today even worse. Come on, this is a sacred object. What is happening? And so on. But the question is it a singing bowl? A bell for meditation? Is it a container for salad? Or is it a container to put water for the dog? How many things can this object be? I don't want to say infinite, but it can be a weapon to hit someone. It can be a little thing to sit. It can be so many things. If we have too much heat, it works. To give you some shadow. It has many, many functions. If we look from a different explanation from quantum physics, it used the term which says, at the same moment in reality, there are infinite possibilities. Within the same union of parts here, the same object, within the same object, there are infinite possibilities. The observer chooses one possibility. When we give the name, we choose one possibility, which is singing bowl. It's one possibility. But the other possibilities, they coexist at the same instant. But when we look at the object, we think it exists out of its own characteristic. It's simply there by its own characteristics. We are totally not aware that there are infinite possibilities at the same time. And we are not able to comprehend it, to understand it, to accept it. Putting in very simple words, the reality in which we live, is it an objective reality or is it a subjective reality? It's subjective. Let's take, for instance, sound. The sound that we are listening, are we listening to the same sound? If we do not analyze, what would we say? Not analyzing, listening. Okay, everybody, can you listen to the sound? What's the answer? Yes, it is the same sound. Yes. If we try to analyze it, is it the same sound? The vibration in the air that arrives to my ear and arrives to your ears, is it the same vibration? No. The object of perception is different. My ear senses power, which is my ear, physical. Is it same as yours, or each one of us have different? They are similar, but as it's said, whatever is similar by definition is different. So we are all human beings. So what happens is that we have a similar ear side, but still it's different. So the object of the vibration of the sound is different, that arises to each one of us. Our ear is different. The ear sense consciousness, which is the aspect of our mind that perceives sounds. Is it the same or is it different for each one of us? Different. The discrimination, which is the name that we give, the emotions that comes together as we perceive the sound, if it's good or bad, beautiful or not beautiful, and so on. The value that we attribute to this sound, is it the same or is it different? Different. So, in other words, when I play, are we listening to the same sound? No. When we look to the same person, are we actually seeing the same thing? No. What does that mean? That external reality does exist, but external reality does not exist independently of internal reality. But when I look to something, how does it seem to me? Just as if it existed out of its own characteristics, independently of anything else. That's our ignorance. That's the elephant. So the room is empty of elephants, which means the room is phenomenon. Empty doesn't exist. What? Inherent existence. Objective. Inherent, objective, independent existence. Does the reality exist? Yes. But it exists with infinite possibilities at every moment. We as observer, we choose one. But this doesn't mean that the others don't exist. Okay? And this ignorance of grasping at reality as being of inherent existence, as looking at phenomena and believing they exist by their own characteristics in an inherent way, that's the root of every suffering. That's why, because from that we generate selfishness, from which we generate anger and so on, and from that we generate our own suffering. So that's why we need to develop wisdom that sees reality in a coherent way. In other way, the wisdom that sees the subjective reality as being subjective. Now we see the subjective reality as being objective. That's ignorance. Wisdom to see the subjective reality as being subjective. That's wisdom. Okay? Next days we have time. The text goes on and on about it, okay? We have time to talk about it. I didn't go into details on the words of the text right now. I just wanted to make an introduction to the subject. Because if we go into the details of the words right now, then we're not only going to lose our lunch, but we're going to lose our dinner also, okay? So we stop here for today. Jetsun lame kotse rapten chi namkar tinle chochur gepa dang Losang tempe dreme sasumgi drove muse tautu ne gyurchi Nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan del Ninsen taktu dele pe koncho sumgi jingi lom Koncho sumgi ngodrupso Koncho sumge trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.